way for this approach, and the gear is up. Right foot stead, verify, feather. There's the marker. Starting the clock. The swing there. And now, since we are single engine, delaying gear extension, coming back to my magic number of approximately 300 foot-pounds, and nosing over to pick up 120 knots on the descent. Looking for an average of 1,000 feet a minute to make sure we break out before we find the runway. And looking for a minimums of 1140, or approximately 1,000 feet above decision altitude this time. Now with any engine failure, of course, a check that there's no fire and a desire to complete the cleanup checklist. However, priorities tell me that I'm busy on the approach, and since there is no fire in the simulation, we'll just continue with this engine in the zero thrusted condition and figure that our priorities are to continue the approach and try to land the airplane successfully, and not worry about little things like turning off fuel, control heat, and firewall valves and boost pumps at this time. 500 feet to go to minimums, good speed, good descent rate on the localizer. Feet to go. Beginning to add power up to our magic number of approximately 900 to hold airspeed as we level out. A lot more left rudder required as I do that. The runways are in sight. We've been carried to sidestep for the landing to the right runway. I'll start a gentle turn now to line up with the right runway. And when my judgment tells me that I'm on a normal 3-degree glide slope, the gear will come down and we'll continue the descent for the single engine landing. There, to me that's a pretty normal approach path. Gear down, holding onto the handle as always to verify 3 green, no red. Sinks off, lights are on, flaps are approach. With such a long runway, 12,000 feet, I'll be landing with approach flaps only for the single engine landing. If we go to full flaps, it's certainly permitted, but that's a commitment to land. No go around at that point. The approach flaps are over the fence speed at this weight should be about 95 knots. You know, don't care if I'm a bit fast. I'd rather be fast than slow, but on the other hand, we don't want to overdo it in either direction. Final scan. Pressurization is gone. 3 green. Yaw damper's off. Aiming for the fixed distance markers 1,000 feet down the runway for the touchdown point. On center line, we hope, and well aligned. As I reduce power, with the zero thrust setting, I'll have to stand the rudders to keep the airplane straight. There's power to idle, letting it land on the center and straight. And now brakes only in the rollout, because we're a simulated single engine. There are certainly some King Air models in which single engine reverse is permitted and is figured into the landing distance charts for single engine, accelerate stop chart single engine. Not in this model. This time we're just being vectored onto a left base for an NDB 23 left approach back to Rickenbacker. But we're actually going to fly that as a GPS approach since this system is IFR certified for approaches. I've entered the approach into the Bendix King KLM 90B. Because we're with vectors, I've selected OBS mode and put the HSI course needle on the inbound course of 231 degrees. Within 30 miles of the airport, when we were prompted to enter the altimeter setting, I did that. And now that we're outside the final fix and on a vector probably intercept.
Here 42 Quebec, you're 5 miles from Pickle. Turn left heading 260. Maintain 2,500 till established on the final approach course. Cleared NDB, runway 23 left approach.
Left intercept 2.5 till established. Clear for the approach 42 Quebec. So at that point, because we were outside more than 2 miles and turning inbound, I released the switch from OBS to leg, which is a requirement to do the NDB approach properly. We cannot do it in the OBS mode. When we arrive within 2 miles of the final fix, the approach arm light will change to approach active, and the sensitivity of our CDI needle will change from 1 mile to 0.3 miles required to peg it out for full-scale deflection. It's just coming inbound now, about well, maybe halfway toward the center, which means we're half a mile to go to intercept the course. The altitude at the outer marker is 2,400 feet. Minimum's 1,240. Lower approach flaps begin slowing. Back in the power. There's the green active light. Approach is active.
Contact Rick Tower 120.05. Good day.
20.05, Fort to Quebec. And before I go, Fort to Quebec, can we come back to you for another miss and maybe back to Bolton?
Fort to Quebec, continue runway 23 left, restricted low approach.
Roger, 23 left, low approach.
Okay,
I dropped the gear there to make sure I got my 120 established by the time I got to the fix. The NDB needle's basically ahead. The GPS says we have 7/10 to go to get there. Landing check.
Northwestbound.
Looks like we're good except for full flaps and yaw damper off. Waypoint alert. We're almost there. I'm hearing the outer marker in the headset. I'm seeing the light. The needle should swing and I'll be ready to zero the clock at that time. All right, now, starting it again. I turned off the autopilot. I brought the power back to about 300 for the non-precision approach. Heading downhill to minimums. The flight director's giving me steering commands. I have 1,000 feet to go to minimums. Looking for 120 knots, 1,000 feet per minute descent rate. The GPS has now switched to a leg that takes me to the missed approach point over the end of runway 23 left. Indicates it's 4 miles ahead of us at this time. Certainly in every non-precision approach, the need to get down rapidly does not exist. But remember, it's always better to be early than late in terms of getting down the position to find the runway and get yourself in that normal 3-degree slot. We're 500 feet above minimums now.
320 Heavy, standby release.
Steering to follow the flight director commands.
And Tower 6508, about a mile south of your extended center line over the railroad track.
Roger there, Roger. Continue across the extended center line, present position.
Coming up on 200 feet to go. I'm going to add power a bit starting about now. Don't want to go below minimums a bit. The magic number in this airplane level off is 800 foot-pounds at our weight. I think it's going to be closer to about 7. Gauge altitude hold. And keep following the flight director, which is compensating for a crosswind. About 50 feet above minimums.
Wind 180 at 6. Clear for restricted low approach outer above 1,250, runway 23 left.
Fort to Quebec, right. Now the to from flag should switch from to to from right as we reach the GPS missed approach point. Slightly fast, reducing power just a little bit. Looking for the runway. Of course, we do see it here, but I'm pretending I don't for the practice of the missed approach. 1 mile to go, according to the GPS.
And 65 Juliet's clear your extended center line.
65 Juliet.
Half a mile to go.
65 Juliet.
GPS is bringing us right down the center line very nicely. Waypoint alert light. We're almost there. Watch for the to from flag to switch. Almost there. There we are. Runway we're pretending is not in sight. I'll hit the go around button on the left power lever and do my 4
turn 135, 3,000.
135, 3,000. Power. Props. Positive rate, flaps, and gear. Left turn to 135, 3,000 we were told. I always encourage you to, when in doubt, bring the props full forward in a case like this. Certainly we can climb quite well with the props back. And with 2 engines running, a short climb, to have left the props back in cruise is absolutely fine, as long as it was a conscious decision and not just a forget. Because someday we'll need that extra performance with an engine out, and that makes a big difference. But, as I say, normal 2 engine, this is fine. Thanks for taking the time to view our video presentation on King Air flying. Hope we'll have a chance to fly together someday in these classic turboprops. Meanwhile, Best wishes for safe and happy flying. I'm Tom Clements.